I've never been the type of person who was content with taking orders.
It's hard not to be a little jealous of James Smith. At the age of 28, this young man who grew up in the Houston ghetto is now a self-made millionaire.
The Rolls Royce I ever drove was yours. When I came out there, that's the first Rolls Royce I ever drove in my life. It was his Rolls Royce. He gave it to me. He hired me for a gig and threw me the keys. How generous he was.
You gave it back though?
Back when I was leaving town, but every time I came, he gave me his Rolls Royce again. He had Rolls Royce when Rolls Royce was first invented.
Hello? That son of a bitch. Hello? James Prince been around 20 years, that son of a bitch. Rich motherfucker. James Prince, rap a lot, 20 years. It's hard to believe.
I'd been driving along when they pulled me over. Now I was separated from my mobile phone, and no one but the officers present even knew I was there. Then they moved me from the first car to the back seat of a different car, where two rookie cops were watching me. I kept asking if I was under arrest, and if so, why not just take me down to the station? He's talking to a district attorney, one of the rookies told me. Finally, the officer who had originally pulled me over walked over to the first squad car and said, "Look what we have here." He pulled up a little white pill that I never seen before.
DEA has been harassing me and saying things for a long time, but for them to go to the extent where they have to do dirty, things like this and plant dope on me, that upsets me a lot.
A controlled substance were found.
What was that controlled substance?
Mandrex, which is an illegal controlled substance.
Police originally thought the pill was a hit of the designer drug ecstasy. Rick Hartley also says the pill was found in James Smith's car, but the police report indicates the pill was found in the back seat of the cop's car.
The lab report from the chemist indicated that the substance that was submitted was diazepam.
Which is?
Which is Valium.
We went from 3 different things, from ecstasy to Mandrex, and now it's Valium.
I believe James is not guilty, and I'm behind James 100%. They are jealous of this black man.
Meanwhile, that one little pill kept changing. At first, officers alleged that the pill was ecstasy. Then the pill became Mandric, also known as a quaalude, which would make it a felony charge. But even before the first court date, the district attorney dropped the charges to a misdemeanor. Now he claimed that that pill was Valium. He wanted me to accept a plea, but I wasn't going to accept anything.
The officer pulled behind me, put his lights on. I stepped out the car. The officer drew his gun on me and put me in the back seat of his car. And he went to questioning me about how did I beat that case that he charged me with. They started searching my car. Found nothing on the inside of my car. They then told me they were waiting on some DEA agent to call. So Raymond then walked over to the car and bent down and came up with this pill. To make a long story short, I was totally unaware of them charging me with that pill.
Where do you think the pill came from?
I think the pill came from Raymond's pocket.
And so you think they planted this pill on you?
Oh, definitely.
In the car?
Definitely. Definitely.
Cases across the United States the last 8 years, and I've never seen anything like this, where a drug is one thing at first, then it becomes something else, and then once again it's tested and becomes something different.
Nowhere in the completed police report does Officer say that he had searched his vehicle earlier that afternoon or that evening before placing Mrs. Smith in the car.
Brought more than 100 protesters outside HPD headquarters on Monday. One of those protesters, Rap-A-Lot President James Smith.
Yeah, just bad cops. I'm not prejudiced or nothing like that. Just crooked cops. I have a problem with them, and that's why we're here today.
This protest here today isn't just about James' situation. It's about situations like this that have occurred to other people in the Fifth Ward and other black areas, not just here in Houston, but in other parts of this country.
We tried to give HPD spokesman Rick Hartley a chance to clear up this apparent mix-up, but Hartley declined an on-camera interview. By telephone, he admitted he'd made a mistake. Ironic about this entire situation is that James Smith was arrested 24 hours after his record company had recorded its latest song. It's entitled Crooked Officer.
Mr. Officer, why you want to put me in a coffin, sir? See, I've been living in this neighborhood for too long. Why you want to come and try to run me from my home? So what we need to do? He say he like good cops, not bad cops, and we need to put a stop to bad cops. We asking them to be responsible and punish those officers who are abusing their authority. You know, from planting drugs to murder to beatings, prejudice. It's a variety of things that's going on, and all that I don't address that the police department are aware of, I just hope they would step out and address these issues because they exist. And you know, we tired of losing our leaders, we tired of losing our brothers in penitentiaries, we tired of the conspiracy, period. And it have to be stopped.
They got me. Huh? They got me, cuz. Hey, man.
Scarface, one of the lead singers for Rap-A-Lot's Ghetto Boys, is gunned down in Shreveport. The group has just finished a concert there Saturday night. At a restaurant nearby, a fight breaks out with a local gang. Shots are fired. Scarface is hit in the leg. His friend and bodyguard shot and killed. The fatal bullet came from an off-duty police officer.
The policeman didn't have his pistol drawn until my partner walked up to the door with his back to the officer, and his life wasn't in danger. No, the officer's life wasn't in danger at all. Not by Rudy. If he wanted to kill somebody, he should have killed the people that were shooting inside the building. The policeman had a gun. The policeman didn't use his gun. I mean, somebody had to defend somebody. I was shot.
What happened in Shreveport is another sign of crooked officers, you know, abusing their authority. Once been victimized by police injustice. In fact, recently, drugs was planted and a murder took place in Shreveport on one of our friends that was real close to us that could totally been avoided. So we're addressing police who abuse their authority over and over again, and we are addressing the officers that sit back and watch other officers abuse their authority and laugh about it. It's a game. I think it's a conspiracy going on with the police officers conspiring against ghetto boys all over the world who beat the system. And what I mean by beat the system is beginning to have a little money where they're not controlled by, you know, you being an athlete or something like that they can come and watch and enjoy. I think they want to destroy you.
United States of America versus James Prince. In 1988, a Chevrolet El Camino was stopped near El Paso, Texas, with dealer paper tags registering to Smith Auto Sales. The driver was my lifelong friend, and the passenger was my cousin. Neither of them worked at my dealership. During a routine search of the vehicle, police discovered a hidden compartment which contained 76 kilograms of cocaine. The estimated street value of the cocaine was roughly $4.5 million. Both men were arrested. My cousin, a standout football player headed to college at the University of Houston, remained in jail until his lawyer was able to prove that he had simply caught a ride in the wrong car that night. My friend, the driver, went to trial and was found guilty of felony conspiracy and possession with intent to distribute. At the time of their arrest, I was about 100 miles away in the studio on Shepherd and 19th Street, cutting a record. This is when I was splitting my time between the studio and promoting my artists. I left the streets alone and was focused on rap-a-lot. What I wasn't doing was moving 76 kilos of cocaine. Federal authorities thought differently. They offered to suspend my friend Lenty Sinners if he would find a way to tie me in, even if it wasn't true. A lesser man would have taken the deal, but my lifelong friend is not a snitch, and he refused to lie on me. He served 18 years of a 21-year sentence.
You gotta give Jay credit, man. He had the nuts to put that shit out.
Yeah.
You know, he put his own money on the line and gambled like a motherfucker and won.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? On the flip side of that, you know, he just was way ahead of us, well, way ahead of me in thinking.
Yeah.
As far as business is concerned, you know. So you got to give him his respect on that, because he was fucking 22 years old in a fucking mansion stretched out in the middle of nowhere with horses and shit in the backyard. I'm talking about acres and acres and horses and fucking, you know, right, like having money.
Yeah.
And that shit started me to dream, and that's when my dream started.
With Jay Prince.
Mm-hmm. Like, admire, like, the person that you admire most in life, that you be if you had to mimic your life behind, like, that would be the guy.
Jay Prince. You know, you talk about how Jay Prince, one thing you make very clear is you don't know how he made his money. You know,
that's not my business.
That's not your business. But he told
we just did music. Yeah,
he told you got to do one or the other.
That's what he told me.
Really, so he made you choose between the streets and music.
He didn't play that shit at all.
Mm-hmm.
He said you got to do one or the other. You can't do both. And if you're gonna do the other, I don't want you nowhere around me.
Because I always tell these youngsters, like, I'm always speaking about, I always make it clear to them, I never met Jay. I don't know Jay. I've never met him.
Right.
But man, I know he the most honorable joker as far as, you know, their life and all these jokers that look up to somebody, especially in music and all that. He the only one really worthy of that. You can't put that on Jay-Z and all them other kids. They ain't worthy of that. You know what I mean? Slim is worthy of that. And they know it. Everybody know it. That's why they run to him every time there's something. But that's what he needs too. He needs to get on board to where he can, you know, they need to start putting it down in these projects and all this, man. It's got to come a time to where we got to stop doing this to each other.
Oh, yeah. They finally caught the 2 DEA agents assigned to take my life over a decade ago. The two, Jack Schumacher and Chad Scott, were both mentioned on 2 songs, Look Into My Eyes and Gangsta Shit by Scarface. We put the spotlight on these so-called gangster DEA agents years ago because of their threats on my life and many other criminal acts they committed. I hired an investigator to investigate Jack Schumacher and discovered that he had killed 8 people on duty. This is highly unusual for an officer to use his weapon so many times. As an officer, he was never convicted of murder and was promoted from officer to a DEA agent only to kill more. So the hitman and his sidekick, Chad Scott, were assigned to destroy me and Rap-A-Lot Records around the same time Murder Inc. and Death Row was being attacked by law enforcement agencies. A decade later, the truth has come to light. The very thing I revealed years ago about the 2 agents, Chad Scott has now been indicted for. Over the years, he left a trail of blood and bodies by victimizing homies and becoming a criminal with a badge. Now, the time has come for the victims in Louisiana and Texas to come together with any information on this scumbag to free those who have been wrongfully set up and imprisoned by him. I wrote all of this in details in my book, The Art and Science of Respect.